Do you feel like the high school we went to skewed your viewpoint on racism because of their diversity and inclusivity? If so, what was the turning factor or the event that triggered you to realize that racism was an issue? That's from one of our fellow Falcons.
One of our fellow Falcons. So I would say, I don't think high school, because you and I, we went to different elementary schools, but you and I went to the same middle school, we went to the same high school. Again, 30 years. But the middle school we went to was very different than the high school we went to. Not necessarily in terms of racial diversity. I don't quite remember what the racial breakdown was in middle school. High school, yeah, it did seem a little more racially diverse. It was a little more all over the place. But middle school was just a hellhole in so many ways. And the fact that, I can recall seeing drugs, guns, and organized prostitution and many other things that in middle school that experience more jaded me toward race relations, because in elementary school it's like I have friends who are black, friends who are Asian, friends who are Hispanic, and get to middle school it's like, no, you're white, you don't hang out with us. And like people gave us crap for being friends then, and it's like, okay, but why though? And so that was kind of like, okay, what's the deal with this? High school, I felt, was a little more honest about it. It's like it looked racially diverse on the surface, but you still had the cliques, you still had the groups, and that was one of the first times that I ever saw you have to interact with other people of color saying that you were not black enough, and you threatening to beat someone's ass for saying that to your face, because you were an honor roll student, you were in band, you were first chair basically any instrument you played. Like these were things that like your highest competition were the white guys for that. Like you shouldn't be, but other people were giving you crap about it. And so like I saw that and I'm just like, it's still there. It's just under a different veneer, I guess, is the best way to look. Like there was a lot of honesty in middle school of, racial separation. Like if like the white kids didn't hang out with the black kids a lot, really. In high school, it's like, no, we hang out, but there's just a unspoken knowledge, like we come from different worlds, which felt weird considering, again, you and I were friends from middle school onward. Like it was like it seemed broken to me, is the best way to put it. It seemed broken.
And it is.
Because like I don't know, I can't say that, I don't know if you ever looked at me differently because I was white, but I certainly never tried to look at you different because you were black. And I couldn't understand why other people who had nothing to do with our friendship were trying to insert that as part of the narrative. That went away in high school. No one tried to place that insertion, but there were just different undertones in high school.
So one thing about that, I'd like you to consider that those people weren't placing those insertions, that they were calling them out, and that they were already there.
That is, in hindsight, yeah, I can totally see it. It felt different at the time, but as an adult looking back on it, yeah, no, I could totally see that. Maybe they weren't intentionally trying to do it, but that was just how they were told and taught to perceive things. That was just possible. That was their reality. because I heard it on both sides. And so it's like, maybe this is just, you know, the reality of it that I didn't know, but like it seemed weird to me. But no, looking back on it, I can totally see that as the case now.
Yeah, and like the two different worlds thing, you know, it's right. There's two Americas, right? And so it's true. I wanted to believe growing up that I was living in the same world as you, Chris. You know, like that's what I wanted to believe. You know, and that's the way that I thought of myself, and that's the way that I interacted and acted. And when something would push back on me that would try to tell me that that wasn't the case, I was taught to ignore it. I was taught to just continue moving forward and not to worry about it because it didn't matter. But it did matter, brother. It did matter. It mattered every single time. And that's what I realized eventually. But it took me a long time to come to that realization and understanding of how much it mattered. All those things that I went through. You know, you said by the time I was, you know, a preteen, barely a teenager, that I gave you a litany of experiences, you know, and whatnot. At 40 years old here, that list is
it's encyclopedic at this point.
Yeah, I mean, volumes could be written and many a scroll, you know, unfurled. So I think that it's really that unnatural barrier of race that was created, right? Mm-hmm. It happens because of the environment that we created for us to exist in. It's a racially toxic environment, one where there's so much ignorance, like you said, going around out there of race. And just as a subject matter, bigotry, the history of race, the history of racism, the mechanisms of how it came to be, of how it was perpetuated, why it was, and questions of why it still persists today only arise when people even realize that it persists today, because there's this whole counter narrative telling people that it doesn't. So, it's maybe dumpster fire, is just right on the money there, right? Thanks for watching. For access to the full-length conversation and all of the 2-hour-long unedited conversations that I've had on race, click the support link in the description below. Thanks for your support and see you next time.